California, Joaquin County in Central California, northern Stanislaus County in Central California, west central Calaveras County in Northern California, southwestern Amador County in Northern California, until 5:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It's 4:35 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Rancho Calaveras, or 12 miles southwest of Paloma, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Wallace around 4:40 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Rancho Calaveras around 4:50 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Campos Maple around 5:05 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Valley Springs around 5:10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Paloma around 5:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 5:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for the following counties in California: Amador, Calaveras, San Joaquin, and Stanislaus.
Where you've got all the lightning going on, the hail, and then this possible tornado. I mean, right there that's the place not to be.
Exactly, and it's interesting that the distance here isn't all that far. This isn't a very large system, but if you got underneath it, if you tried to drive on Highway 12 right now, that would not be a fun drive right now. The heavy rain, the hail, that would be miserable. But what we're most concerned about is the Doppler indicated rotation, and that's why we have this red polygon here, and that's the area where we have the tornado warning up. There are a lot of communities in here, including Rancho Calaveras, including San Andreas, and those are technically in the warning, but I don't see them being in an immediate threat right now because of where this system is. But if you're in San Andreas, just make sure that you have a safe place to get to in a hurry, just in case this thing does come your way. You are technically in the warning, but as you can see, the system is off to your west, and it's not moving all that quickly. But what we are seeing is a move off to the north and to the east, likely passing by the Valley Springs area.
All right, let's turn it over to meteorologist Heather Waldman tracking the rainfall totals that we've seen today. Heather?
Yeah, guys, this is an area that's been active pretty much through the entire afternoon. So what you're looking at here, these are radar estimated rainfall totals from the last 3 hours. Keep in mind, radar estimated. These are not actual measurements, but where you see the areas of yellow, even some reds, that's where the radar is picking up on potential rainfall amounts around 2 to 3 inches. So we've zoomed in here so you can see along parts of Highway 12 to the east of Wallace around Burson. And as you head southward towards Highway 26, that's where we've seen the heaviest of the rain so far today. I know Mark was talking about a few of these cells that generated around noon this afternoon and tracked right along the same area. Now we're watching more of these heavy cells, more of these cells with rotation come through with heavy rain and potentially some small hail as well. So you can see here, again, you're looking at radar estimated rainfall from the last 3 hours. The cell track just to the north of Linden, radar picking up on potentially 1 to 2 inches of rainfall there in the last few hours. And we have had several reports of flooding in a lot of these areas as well, especially south of Stockton, some street flooding. Now, of course, as these heavy downpours come through and then they move away, the flooding does retreat relatively easily. But travel through these areas, whether you're within that tornado warning or whether you're experiencing hail or not,
there's an emergency alert.
It's very difficult on the roadways. You can see
it just said at 5:02. It just said at 5:02. Is it?
Mark, let's focus back on
It says it's at 10 miles per hour right now.
And
where is it at?
Rancho
Calaveras.
You can see a better idea of how
Rancho
this is
Calaveras.
shifting to the north.
That's in Sacramento.
Making it go farther away from
That's
Highway
by Sacramento.
26. So
That's
that's
not
why
by
I'm
us.
feeling better about the areas like San Andreas, where you still might get some rain, but it is now the areas that are moving farther to the north end of this warning box. There is still the rotation that every now and then you'll pick
says
up on
dangerous
right in
storm
here
will be
that we're
near.
seeing just to the west now of Valley Springs. Springs. And if there is a funnel cloud or tornado out of this cell, this is the area that we'd be seeing it, just to the west of Valley Springs. The other thing that you'll note here is that the southern edge, or I should say the western and southern edge of this thing, keeps filling in, and that's what we've been seeing throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, look, funnel cloud.
Just kind of is one mass that moves. It keeps regenerating back to the west, and that's why you see this relatively slow movement, those high rainfall totals that Heather's been talking about. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more activity develop on the western side from that part of the cell that we're seeing right here that is technically out of the warning area. But we do continue to have this rotation. Let me stop this animation and zoom in on this a little bit more, because what we're seeing is that rotation get very close to Valley Springs.
Yeah, it's right there. Where
no, they had them on the news.
Yeah, it's right there. So it's that little spot of blue right in here. Here's Valley Springs, and it's that area right there. So it's right where we always look for it, kind of on the south edge of these things. So that area is heavy rain, probably some hail in here over the Burson area. But then this is where we're seeing the rotation, and here's Valley Springs. So yeah, that's why we want, for those of you in Valley Springs, just to stay safe right now, because this is the most critical time for you right now. The warning is up until 5:15.
It was pouring when we first got to Lake Cook, this is going to
be the most crucial time. It just updated. There's the rotation, and it's just to the south and west of Valley Springs. We do not know if there is a tornado on the ground, but if there is going to be a tornado anywhere in Northern California right now, it's going to be right there.
Well, that's the spot you said you were looking at even 20 minutes ago, Valley Springs. You were most concerned about that area. So again, Mark, just to reiterate, if you are inside, stay inside. If you have a basement, go to the basement. Stay away from windows. Also, if you're in a car, it's really not safe to be driving in that area.
I'm turning this up because I can't hear it.
Getting into an interior room. Let's say if we have a tornado. Now, tornadoes in Northern California are generally weak. EF0s, EF1s, but they're producing maybe 70 or 80 mile an hour winds. That is plenty enough to bring to kick up debris, bring down branches, and it's the debris that gets airborne that goes through the windows. So that's why we're advising you to stay away from windows, especially in the south and west side of your house. So you go to an interior room. We're not worried about your house being moved off its foundation. We're worried about flying debris here. That's the sort of the thing that happens with the tornadoes in Northern California. And that's the last thing you want to have happen. I remember one years ago in Elk Grove, we had one of those roof shingles, those concrete roof shingles, taken off of one house and went through the picture window of another house nearby. So it's the kind of sudden 70, 80 mile an hour winds that can come from something like this. You get flying debris and it goes through the window. So that's why we say get to an interior room away from the windows and just stay inside until this thing passes. But yeah, there is the rotation right there, and it's just outside Valley Springs, or just on the south side. So yeah, Valley Springs right now is the most critical area that we're looking at.
Can you also make anything out the way that rotation, that blip is right there? Does that tell you anything?
Well, it's in the right place, and also if you kind of look at the radar, see how this kind of bends right in here. Yeah. So you don't have a straight line here. Instead, you have this kind of here. So you have rotation in here, and yeah, we're getting more of that rotation toward Valley Springs. As again, Doppler indicated, it does not necessarily mean that we have a tornado on the ground. No. But right now we're coming up on 5:08. The warning is set to expire at 5:15. I have a feeling that since we're continuing to see this rotation near a populated area like Valley Springs, I have a feeling we may see this warning extended. And again, the warning is a pretty large area. But in the entire warning area, this is the area that I'm most concerned about right now for about the next 5 to 10 minutes is Valley Springs and these spots along Highway 12 just to the west of town.
All right, Mark, thank you so much.
I'm going to zoom this out a little bit.
And this is technically a warning. That means they want you to take action. This is not just a watch, because there's also that. If it's just a watch, they just want you to be prepared and hey, this might happen. But this is an actual warning. The meteorologist decided that there was going to be severe weather for our area today.
I can tell you as a kid growing up up in Texas, when you heard the warning go out, you knew it meant business. And we always took it serious, and it was a bit of a scary thing for a kid growing up there. Of course, like you mentioned, Mark, these tornadoes are different. They are a little less powerful in strength, not going to tear your house off its foundation, but can still throw a lot of objects through the windows and just through the air.
It's saying a warning, we need to take action
dangerous
right
and
now.
potentially lethal.
Well, and everything's dry out there.
Even
too,
if
so like you mentioned,
it
maybe
said
tree
on
limbs
here,
coming
even
off,
if it's a warning,
lot of
we
trees
still
are
need to take
extremely dry
action.
from this drought that we're in.
Well, yeah, so you can have a
Shelter
tree
in
limb
place.
come down, or you can have branches get airborne, that sort of thing. I did want to show the animation because
A real flood
it's
advisory
off to the east,
remains
but
in
also lifting a
effect
little bit
for
to
the
north.
following countries.
And that means areas like San Andreas, I'm much less concerned
Amador,
about. So the areas
Calvary's,
on the
San Joaquin
southern
County
end
until
of this warning
7:10
box, I'm much less
p.m.
concerned about. But it's also staying nicely south of the Amador County line here.
I know.
So we are going to see.
I saw the
now,
fire.
we're seeing more of that rotation
It's in
here.
Valley Spring.
Is that concerning?
Hang on a second. I'm going to ask Heather. Heather, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I was just looking at,
We're
getting in the
fine.
weeds here a little bit with the radar. If you want to put up TV2 back in the control room, you can see
Take it full.
a slightly different version of the radar, what you're looking at.
I don't care, I'm
The
trying to
reds
look-
and the
watch
greens
what the
represent air
EAS
moving
is going
towards
on.
and away from the radar. So anytime you see what we call a couplet, areas of red and green that are matched right up together, where it almost sort of makes that yin-yang shape on the radar, that's where we're really looking at that rotation. And when we say radar indicated rotation, this is the radar scan that meteorologists are looking at behind the scenes that's indicating that not only is there some at least broad rotation, but that rotation may actually be tightening a little bit. So Mark, this storm looking a little bit healthier than it was even just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you go ahead and put that behind me, and I can explain a little bit more about the reds and greens here. So yeah, go ahead and switch this over to TV2, if you will, and I'll explain just a little bit about what Heather was talking about.
I've
So
seen what
here we go.
happened to
So it
tornadoes.
can't get
I've
lost.
seen
This shade of red,
alerts.
that's
I've
the
seen
warning.
videos. I've
But you
seen
notice
a lot
right
of
here
this
near
stuff.
Valley Springs, here's this area of green and this area of red.
I've seen
So that means that
El
in
Reno,
one
I've
area
seen the
the
twin
wind's going this way, and the other
tornado.
area it's going this way. So it's going in two different directions that the radar is seeing.
I've seen the
And
fire
so
tornado.
right here, where it changes from one to the other, that's where you have what Heather was talking about is the couplet, and that's in Valley Springs. So we show it to you in a simplified form on the other radar. So, but this is actually, as Heather was explaining, how what
take cover?
meteorologists look at, and I'm sure that's what the National Weather Service office is looking at as well. Is it's where these two kind of meet, if you will. That's where you have the change in wind direction, and if it's the change in wind direction in a very short area, that means you likely have
Tornado
a circulation
basements.
going on. But yeah, that's a great
Basements
explanation.
are more
Shift back
safer.
to the other radar, because we are coming up here in
Does not
another
mean
2 or
you
3
have to
minutes
dig
on the
underground
potential expiration. But
try
I'm going to
to
stop this and zoom in on it, because it actually looks like this rotation is better than it was, doesn't it, Heather?
It sure does. That's what I was just looking at as well.
When you say better, what
Oh,
do you
it's
mean?
expanding.
When you say better, does that mean better as in our chances of having a
literally
funnel
just
cloud or
expanded.
tornado?
Well, yeah. Look at that area of blue here. That
Wow.
it's much wider. So while it hasn't gone up in scale, meaning the change in wind direction isn't any stronger, it's showing that there is a pretty well-defined rotation here, right in the neighborhood of Valley Springs, and that's what Heather was just showing you on the other version of the radar. And this is, like I said, the simplified version that we use for air, because it's easier to see in this area of blue, if you will. That's where the rotation is, but it's in the same place. It's right in Valley Springs. And with the warning getting ready to come up in about 2 minutes, I have a feeling this is going to be extended. It'll likely be shifted a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'll widen the radar a little bit, and we'll stay on that as we go get up to 5:15 itself to see how the box gets extended. I think it has, hasn't it? It doesn't look like there's two here now. I think they changed
There
it.
might be, but I need to look on it.
Yeah, it looks like there's 2 boxes overlap, Mark. Does the shape of the blue concern you at all?
We're in the warning.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, so yeah, just so yeah, we do now have a second one.
I'm
that
gonna
goes
turn
until
it up. I
6
can't
o'clock.
really hear
So
it.
what you'll see here is what caught my eye is that there's a different little polygon. There's one on top of the other. So in about a minute, one of these boxes will go away. The other one will appear. So there are actually two tornado warnings active right now, but
Two
one will go away in
tornado
about
warnings.
45 seconds. So what that means is that this
at
rotation that we've been
Majorco
looking at
until 6 p.m.
is enough
Calvary
that the
is
Weather
until
Service
6
is
p.m.
continuing
So
this
two of
tornado
them.
warning. They'll shift it a little bit. They'll likely be taking some of the areas on the south side out of the warning and maybe putting some areas more into Amador County into the warning. So some of you that have not been in the tornado warning in Amador County are likely to be getting into that, and we'll see this polygon shift in about another 20 seconds or so. But yeah, I just wanted to see it right there. It's up until 6 o'clock, but the main area of concern right there is Valley Springs, where we're seeing the best in the way of rotation right now.
Right, and you said that this wasn't going to surprise you if they extended it, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, considering how intense these images look here right now, and they're just shifted a little bit.
Exactly. So it just shifted. So the one warning went away.
I
so
can't
now
listen
I'm
to
actually
it.
going to take the radar off of here so you can see the further extent of the warning. So it does go across the county line. There are areas to the west of Highway 49, to the west of McCollum Hill, along Pardee Dam Road, Buena Vista, all of these areas to the north. Now many more areas are in the warning, and I've taken the radar off of here, but what you are left with here, and I'll even take the hail off of here, so that is just the rotation on the radar, and I'll put the radar back on, and there you go. So this
it
is
expanded.
So for many of you, you're still in a tornado warning, and for some of you, you're now into a tornado warning in parts of Amador County and the areas north here. San Andreas looks as though you're just out of it, but they're keeping areas along Highway 49 north of San Andreas in it. But boy, it'd be nice to talk with somebody in Valley Springs right now to see what they're saying.
Yeah, if they're able to call us, or if someone's able to safely get some imagery to us at News Tips at KCRA, don't do anything that seems risky. Absolutely do not do that. But if someone feels like they're safely able to get a picture to us, we
I was wondering, is that camera still available? I'd love to take
Let's
a
go
look.
back up there because they keep adding to the time lapse. Let's see what we've got there. That looks a little different than what we had earlier.
They
Mark.
updated
You
it.
can see the clouds.
Mom,
and
look.
and then the build up.
They updated the time
I'll let
lapse.
you narrate this.
I'm still.
That looks a little different than what we saw.
This is north of Valley Springs.
This is north of Valley Springs.
So let's looking to the south, and it looks as though the entire cloud is rotating, which is what you would expect to see. Yeah, you can see it, everything is rotating, and so you have different wind directions. But the thunderstorms generally do rotate, but we're looking on the bottom end of that.
That is interesting.
Certainly do have updrafts in there.
Keep in mind, too, that because this is north of Valley Springs looking south, the rotation within the storm where a tornado may be is going to be behind the rain that you see developing there, so maybe even tougher to see here.
Yeah, behind it, maybe to the left, but yeah, definitely behind it. But either way, that's kind of the way the sky looks there. And so, yeah, to give you the update here, so now we have a tornado warning up until 6 o'clock for parts of Calaveras and Amador County, but the rotation continues in the Valley Springs area. There are areas to the east of there along Highway 12 toward Highway 49 that are technically in this warning, but you're not in an immediate threat because it does appear as though the forward progress of this is very, very slow. We started with this back at around, 440, something like that?
Yeah.
And at that time, the rotation was here, and now it's here. It's probably only moved about 5 miles.
Well, I don't know if this is a good time to talk about this, but let's just talk about how, this is not happening in a vacuum. Everything's dynamic. Everything's changing with the temperature, the time of day. So I'm just curious, how long could this situation maintain itself before things start to break down?
That's a very good question. Especially this time of day, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, soon we will be losing whatever heating of the day we have had, and it has been a relatively cool day, but we wouldn't expect that this activity to last too much longer after 6 o'clock. We should be losing a lot of the dynamics that would be producing something like this. So, but up until 6 o'clock, I think this is likely, and a lot of our models were indicating that we would have the possibility of instability up until maybe 6 or 7 o'clock this evening, but then losing that after that. It's very, very rare for us to have anything like this in anything after dark or in the early morning hours. This is the prime time and the prime time of year for Northern California to have this sort of activity. On a day like today, when colder air is moving in, we've been showing you the snow pictures from the Sierra, an indication of colder air moving in, and then with the higher sun angle that we do have, you get the instability, and on days like today, we do get these thunderstorms that are capable of producing relatively weak tornadoes. And California does average about 12 to 15 tornadoes a year, and we haven't had one reported just yet today, but we do have a very strong signature of rotation on this storm, which is why we do have this tornado warning up until 6 o'clock this evening.
All right, Mark, thank you. And just to reiterate, as Golsta was mentioning, if you're in Valley Springs, we would love to hear from you. You can email us at newstips@kcra.com. I know there are several businesses that are still open right now, including a round table. So I don't know if anyone's working at that round table or...
Pizza?
Yeah, round table pizza. It closes at 8:45, so make sure you're safe, obviously, but if you can contact our newsroom, we would certainly appreciate it because we would love to have some eyes on the ground. This is really remarkable to see those shafts of rain coming down, and as Heather was mentioning, what's really important is what's happening behind that rain. But it looks like all of the clouds seem to be rotating all together.
I'm just glad we're able to kind of look at it from this angle, that we have this camera to kind of illustrate what Mark has been talking about and how important and necessary it is to take this tornado warning very seriously, because even the smallest tornado can still whip things up and throw objects around and break out the windows in your house or your business. So it's very important to take shelter in the interior of your home if you're in the area of this tornado warning.
We do have someone who just called in from Valley Springs, Michaela Delp. Thank you so much. We first want to make sure that you are
they found a picture from Valley Springs.
Windows, Michaela.
Yes, we are.
And so what are you seeing, or what did you hear, or what have you seen? What's happening outside that you saw before you got inside?
There has been a lot of spinning in the clouds. There's been, a lot of rain coming down really hard. It's been moving sideways. Just really abnormal.
Is it loud? I mean, is there a lot of wind whipping around?
There wasn't, and then it did kind of build up to it, and then it's kind of died down as of right this second.
And so are you in a home, Michaela, or where are you right now?
Yeah, it's in a family home.
And have you lived there for a long time? Have you ever seen anything like this before?
We've been in Valley Springs about 8 years, and we haven't seen this yet.
Wow. How's the rain? What's the rain looking like there?
Right this second, it stopped, but as of even less than a minute ago, it was pouring.
So how did you hear about this tornado warning?
We received a message on our iPhones.
Oh, okay, good. So that tornado warning message came across.
Those are pretty loud and clear when it hits your cell phone, right, Michaela?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, good. And so do you have a lot of people in the home with you, or is everyone in your family accounted for?
We are. We all are accounted for, so yes.
All right, well, that's good. And thank you so much, Michaela, for calling us. We appreciate it. And yeah, it's hard for us to ask you too many questions because we want you to stay away from the windows.
Right.
So that's good. You're doing what you should be doing, and we appreciate you taking the time. So stay safe there. Again, this tornado warning just got extended from 5:15 till 6 o'clock tonight. So almost another 40 minutes.
And I'm just kind of impressed by the amount of rain that appears to be coming down from that system.
Yeah, they're certainly getting buckets of rain, and especially since it's moving so slowly. The latest on the radar is that the rotation holding together has now moved just to the east of Valley Springs. It's moving out here toward Highway 12. Toyon is right in here. More homes in here. There's a school right in here. So yeah, now if you're east of Valley Springs along Highway 12, you got to make sure that you're also in a safe place, staying inside Valley Springs. In areas west of Valley Springs, we are not seeing rotation here. We still have a lot of rain along 12, but it's the area on the east and south part of this system that we would be seeing the possibility of rotation, the possibility of a tornado here. So that's down just to the east of Valley Springs. But from Valley Springs, stay inside for maybe another 5-10 minutes. Let this pass. Because it will. It's moving steadily to the east. It's estimated at 15 miles an hour. It looks like it's moving a little bit slower than that to me, but it does make progress to the east. But it is continuing along 12 here, and maybe eventually could make its way toward 49. San Andreas, we are still in the warning here, especially on the north side of town, but it's still a ways away from you. But it is trending kind of in this direction. There are homes and ranches in this area and farms and that sort of thing. So if you're in one of those areas, I mean, as opposed to Valley Springs where you have more densely populated homes, but there are a lot of ranches and homes in this area as well. So for those of you that have livestock, you got to make sure that they're all taken care of, as well as making sure that you are in a safe place as well.
So, Mark, you mentioned that the system seemed to be moving about 15 miles an hour. So does that tell you anything about the energy of this system?
No, it's kind of pushed by the winds aloft.
We got the severe thunderstorm.
That's an estimate. It seems like it's actually moving slower than that to me. But then again, I'm looking at this thing on a second-by-second basis, and it doesn't appear to be moving all that quickly. But it does appear to be moving along, and maybe just on the north side of 12. But yeah, this is holding together pretty nicely.
All right, we've got Steve Miller from Valley Springs who's calling in right now, and let's see if we can get him on our air right now. Steve, thanks for checking in with us. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, actually. So we live on the course of Valley Springs on Waldman Ravine. And so what's occurring is on the north side, actually on March Day, I can hear all the thunder. I can see the clouds spinning to the north. I live right here where I live. My flagpole is very moving. The trees are very little breeze. Not a single drop of rain here currently.
Did you see anything that looked like, I mean, we talked to a lady named Michaela Delp a few minutes ago, and she said, oh, yeah, I can see the clouds.
Yeah, so my daughter and my son-in-law are building a new house here, and so I was over there just a little bit ago. We could really see, back by the Burton Wallace area, you could really see the clouds churning like something was trying to happen, but it seems like it never materialized. But what I can really hear on the north side, I'm looking north currently, I can really hear the thunder. It's like on and on and on and on and on, continuous over there.
So, Steve, are you inside right now?
No, I'm outside. I'm outside.
Okay. Well, you're supposed to be inside.
I'm underneath a shelter, though, in my front yard.
Well, Steve is on the La Contenta golf course. And the La Contenta golf course is on the south side of Valley Springs. Okay. And so, and it's interesting because Steve said that it hasn't even barely rained there. And as you can see, the line of rain, La Contenta is here. So, yeah, Valley Springs is here. La Contenta is just on the south side of town. I'm familiar with the 8th hole. I've double bogeyed a number of times.
All right, well, I won't log him then. All right, Steve, you get off the hook.
Well, here's what I'll say here.
Yeah.
As far as Valley Springs is, there's very little wind. I say maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour. The flag is barely moving. No rain. I say on this side of town, on the south side of Valley Springs, we're all good here. So I live south. I live east and south of Highway 12.
All right.
So
that was a great explanation, Steve. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you folks be safe. Have a good day.
You be safe. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's what he's seeing because that's what we're seeing on your map right here.
Exactly. So, and the rotation has moved off to his east, but yeah, the golf course is just on the south side of town, and the system has stayed kind of along and on the north side of Highway 12. I really appreciate that report. That was very, very helpful. So yeah, the thing that really impresses me is that the rotation is holding together very, very nicely. Heather, what are you working on over there? You got anything?
Yeah, I'm getting a little fancy with some of our geekier weather tools. We want to take TV2 full screen here. Oh, there I am. Hello there. Yeah, let's take TV2. I want to show you what's going on. So this is kind of a three-dimensional scan of this cell. The reason I did this, I wanted to see how high up into the atmosphere those thunderstorm clouds were reaching, because the higher they go, the greater the potential for, first of all, some small hail. Second of all, the greater the potential for that hail to grow in size. And where you see that yellow shooting up, if you look off to the right side of your screen, kind of small print there, but 20,000 feet. So those thunderstorm tops are shooting well into the mid part of the atmosphere. Very good chance that there is some hail within the cell, and potentially some large hail as well. What you're looking at here, these little splashes of blue, those are what we call shear tracks. So Mark has been pointing out on the latest radar scans where those areas of blue, those areas of rotation are. This is the history of those areas of rotation over the last couple of hours here. So you can clearly see where the worst part of the storm is tracking on right through Valley Springs, just to the north of Highway 12 there. And you can see it's kind of fizzling out as you go a little bit farther off to the north and east. one more little toy here. In the area in purple, these are the hail tracks. So this is where radar is indicating that there may certainly be some hail falling within the storm. If it's not hail, I'd be shocked. Those are some really impressive rainfall rates, but even without the hail, precipitation likely accumulating there at about 1 to 2 inches per hour.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. We just want to remind you that we are staying with us. There is a tornado warning right now in effect in Calaveras, Amador, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin counties. So we are preempting NBC Nightly News. We're going to stay on the air. This warning is in effect until 6 p.m. tonight. And so Chief Meteorologist Mark Finan and our team of meteorologists, including Heather Waldman, are tracking all of this for you. If you're just tuning in right now, this is not a watch. This is a warning. They want you to take action if you are in this area. Stay inside. Stay away from windows. Make sure you also bring your pets inside. If they are pets, you can bring inside. But also, if you're driving in the area, you don't want to be driving through this. You want to pull over and get to a structure that is safe.
Yeah, we got this warning just around 4:40 this afternoon, and we've been going live wall to wall with this because it is a dangerous situation with this tornado warning. And Mark, let's go back to you right now as we continue to track this on Doppler and just give us an update now of where we stand.
So as of right now, we do have this tornado warning up until 6 o'clock, and that's that area of red that is highlighted for parts of Calaveras and Amador County, and that goes up until 6 o'clock. Now, the warning area is relatively large, but if you zoom in here, it is really this area of blue that is now just to the east of Valley Springs, which is where the Doppler is indicating there is a rotation. We have not had any confirmed sightings of a tornado. There hasn't been any reports of a tornado or any damage or anything like that. But we have had, as Heather was mentioning a couple of minutes ago, rather sustained areas of this rotation. And that continues to move to the east of Valley Springs right now. There's that area of Toyon right in here. There's a middle school in here. There are ranches in here. That's where the heaviest rotation is now. Moving to the east toward Highway 49. It's moving at a pretty good clip right now, but along this entire area, we also have areas of heavy rain, hail, lightning, as you can see, but our concern here, and the reason that we're continuing with our coverage now instead of going to nightly news, is the tornado warning and the rotation that has been indicated on Doppler radar on the south side of the storm, right along Highway 12 in parts of Calaveras County.
While you've got this up, let's show people where Lake Pardee is, because we've got some video that we're just getting in right now, and that's to the north of where we are, Valley Springs. So let's show folks what this video looks like here that somebody took some video of, and it looks like they're focusing in on what they believe might be some type of something coming out of a wall cloud. There may be, well, there's another.
It looked like something was dropping down. Yeah, I saw what you saw right there.
Yeah, tough to tell.
The little fingers coming down.
Yeah, tough to tell with that because sometimes those can be rain shafts or it could be a funnel cloud. Very tough to tell.
Yeah, because you can't really see rotation from that distance, right?
Right. Certainly not as well defined as the video we had earlier today from the Stockton area. But yeah, you can get very ragged clouds on the bottom of a lot of these. Rain shafts sometimes fool people as well to thinking that there may be something coming out of that. But you can see how the system rotates.
Yeah.
And then you see the rain shaft with this one. That's a rain shaft. That isn't a funnel cloud or a tornado with that. That's a rain shaft. But you can clearly see how the cell itself rotates, which is very typical with thunderstorms in general. They will rotate as the updrafts. They don't go straight up. They kind of diagonally go around and up in through the thunderstorm. But that's what's going on. We have this huge area of thunder right in here. Actually looks like two very well-defined cells, maybe even three here. 1, 2, 3, and it's this one that is indicating the rotation here. But it doesn't mean that we can't get rotation out of this one, which would be in this area, or out of this one, which would be back in San Joaquin County. So this is a very active cell, and this reminds me a lot of what we saw in San Joaquin County back between noon and 1 o'clock. We saw lines similar to this with areas of weak rotation along it, but this one has been good enough that we do have this tornado warning up for another 27 minutes. It looks as though Valley Springs for right now, you're out of the area of immediate threat anyway, or be more concerned about the area here just to the north of Highway 12 and making its way maybe toward Highway 49 here within the next 10 minutes north of San Andreas.
What do you think about McComely Hill? It's out of the area there, but I mean, just to be mindful.
Yeah, let me shift the map just a little bit. Yeah, McComely Hill, you're not in a warning, but you are certainly close to where the storm is heading. And if and I'll put the big if on this, if we would see this tornado warning extended past 6 o'clock, I have a feeling McCallum Hill would probably get into that, because this is the direction in which that is headed. Heather, what do you got now?
Well, we have another viewer on the line. We want to talk to Joe Bristow. He is along Highway 12. Joe, thank you so much for calling in. First of all, where along Highway 12 are you?
I'm right off of Michigan Road, so I'm moved south of Highway 12, about a mile off of Highway 12. And we're by that supercell that's coming through the Wallace area now.
Okay, so are you closer to the Valley Springs area along Highway 12 then?
I'm actually 8 miles west of Valley Springs, so I'm down in the valley where Burton, the small town of Burton and Wallace meet together.
Okay.
That's where my property is.
Yeah, I'm looking at that radar scan right now where you are. So what are you seeing in your location right now?
Right now, it's starting to hail just briefly. It just let up about 2 minutes ago. I've got on my back deck and out in my field, I've got at least 3 inches of hail. Above me, I had a couple of rotations of the clouds that I've seen. That was kind of scary. But I've got some great video of my entire 5 acres just covered. It looks like it just snowed outside. It was that thick.
Well, Joe, if you're able to send us that video, you can email it to news@kcra.com. We'd love to be able to see it. But it sounds like you are at home, not on the road, yes?
That is correct. There was just a huge lightning hit right over Highway 12. You can hear the thunder in the background from it. And it's starting to increase in hail and the rain that's coming down.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're actually in the second of sort of 3 cells that we've been tracking. One came through about 15, 20 minutes ago. Now you're underneath that second one where you confirmed for us that there is indeed some hail falling from that. Looks like there's yet another cell coming. Joe, thank you so much for calling in. Stay safe. Obviously, we'll let the storm pass, but thank you so much for calling us.
I'll go ahead and send the videos, and how would I do that?
That would be news@kcra.com. That's the email that you can send that to. And thank you so much for capturing that and for sharing it with us.
Thank you, now. I appreciate your help.
Take care, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great report there. Yeah, this is producing quite a bit of hail. The update here is that this area of rotation appears to be getting smaller, and I was just looking at another radar view of this, and it appears as though it is also weakening a little bit. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We saw this a half an hour ago when the rotation kind of dissipated. It doesn't mean it's going away completely. These things, sometimes they weaken and then they strengthen, weaken and strengthen. They kind of pulse a little bit sometimes, but the latest, just within the last 5 minutes or so, is that the rotation is weakening. This right here is the junction of Highway 12 and Highway 26. Toyon is right here, and so that gives you an idea of where this is. So this is how you take Highway 26 up to McCallum Hill along Highway 49, and that's the direction where that rotation would be heading. As you can see, from McCallum Hill all the way back down toward the Wallace area and toward the Comanche Reservoir. Heather mentioned there are 3 cells. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and it's this one that has the rotation. You see this, the way this echo just kind of bends right in here? So you could have maybe inflow here, outflow here, rotation in that area. So that's the area that we'd be most concerned about. And it's now reaching the eastern edge of this tornado warning. The warning is up for about another 23 minutes or so. So I have to see whether or not this gets extended. But if it does get extended, it will likely be on the east side unless we start seeing rotation out of any of these other cells. But right now we are not seeing any of that. But what we are seeing is plenty of areas of heavy rain. And as you just heard with that caller, heavy rain and hail in a lot of areas. This is still a very nasty cell that isn't showing any signs of going away.
Even that cell that's kind of at the very bottom, the lower left, that one should also be a pretty good hail generator.
Oh yeah, that one. And let me widen out the view for you a little bit, and you'll be able to see that if you see, they're very, very well defined. Actually, we might even be adding a 4th one here just to the north of Linden. So what we saw earlier today is when the atmosphere is just right, you have these little areas, they're convergence lines, if you will, that this is where the atmosphere is just right, so that instead of having, let's say, one cell that just moves across, they keep generating. So you get one here, you get one here, you get one here, you get one here. So this one may also develop into a pretty good cell, even though it's outside of the area of the tornado warning. The tornado warning is up because of the rotation, and actually it did pulse back up again right here along Highway 26.
Hey there, Mark. Yeah, we have another caller on the line. We have Richard Moss. He's in Rancho Calaveras. Richard, thank you so much for calling in. One of the tough parts of our job is that obviously we can't have eyes everywhere. So you calling in and letting us know really helps us tell the story here. So what are you seeing from where you are in Rancho Calaveras?
Well, right now it is not raining, but I can tell you earlier it was kind of strange. It was real quiet. The wind was not blowing at all. And I could go outside and I could look I live about a mile off Highway 26. And I'm on the west side. But I could look out my front porch and I could see the kind of sun clear sky on the north side or east side of 26, and over on my side, it was just all of a sudden we just got hit with a lot of wind, heavy wind. I mean, trampolines were flying down the roadway, and heavy rain, just heavy rain for about 10, 15 minutes. I've lost branches off some of my trees, and basically got a mess in my yard. But we got hit pretty hard as far as wind and rain went. But prior to that, it was so quiet, and it's so quiet right now. There's no rain or anything, wind on my side of the road.
Yeah, we have heard stories about that sort of eerie calm as the storm is coming in. So about what time did those winds come through where you are, Richard?
Well, I would say it was probably between somewhere closer to 5. Like I was outside and could actually look at the dark side of, on the west where it was really dark. The clouds were very dark. And like I said, we thought we were past it. But all of a sudden, boom, the wind just kicked up like 0 to 100 in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it sounds like what you experienced was what we call the outflow of that storm coming in. So even though it's not necessarily raining right away where you are, that sudden burst of wind is sort of the energy from that storm coming in out ahead of it. But you said you lost some tree branches. Did you see any hail where you were?
A little hail, not a lot of hail, but when it came down, it was coming down with rain and hail mixed together, where it was pretty heavy. So, yeah, it was really heavy. I mean, the rain gutters could not keep up with the water flow.
Yeah,
So,
I believe it. Yeah, Richard, thank you so much for calling in. So Rancho Calaveras, where you are right now, you're on the edge, the southern edge of where that tornado warning is. That goes for about another 19 minutes here until 6 p.m. But the worst of these storms are just off to your north side. Imagine if you go outside, you look off to the north, the sky still looks pretty threatening where you are. Are you able to see that right now?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Like I said, now I'm standing outside, and I could see the sun on one side, and I could see the clouds on the other.
All right, Richard, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about what you're seeing. Stay safe. Some of these storms are still pretty close to where you are. But again, thanks for calling in. Gulston and Lisa, back to you.
We've got a little bit of video here. It's a very short loop. It's only on 4 seconds here. This is from Holly Scribina. This is in the Valley Springs area. And Mark, again, this is just a quick video, 4 seconds here, but what do you see?
That's a pretty good funnel cloud right there. Yeah. And you notice that where we're seeing the funnel cloud, you actually see the rain shaft behind it.
Yes.
Right. So that's what we've been talking about, with having the rotation. It's removed away from the area of rain, and not seeing it reach the ground, although it's tough to tell here. Sometimes you can still get some of the wind down on the ground. In other words, you don't necessarily see the funnel hit the ground. So that's why sometimes you look down at the bottom to see if there's any debris coming up, but you're not seeing that with this. Again, this is a pretty short loop. So at this point, we just call that a funnel cloud. Very clear shot of a funnel cloud near Valley Springs, confirming what we've been seeing on Doppler radar throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, and Mark, take a close look at this one. Now we have a new video coming in. This from Mike Furlong showing us a little bit more of that rotation. And this is a little bit of a longer video also from Valley Springs, Mark, so it'll give you kind of a better idea and, you know, taken at different times, but still you can clearly see all of that rotation going on.
Yeah, so clearly rotation, something that wants to be a funnel cloud, something that wants to be a tornado. But again, we're not seeing any connection down to the ground at that point. But yeah, because and it's tough to tell, but it still looks as though it's really well elevated off the bottom, off the ground there.
So when we see the sun, you saw the camera panned over to the left, and we see the sunshine coming through.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit concerning.
Well, and so that's kind of what we've been seeing. So so this angle would be looking off to the north, or maybe to the northwest a little bit. So you see the funnel cloud, you see the rain shaft behind it, but then if you look off to your left, you see the sun.
And explain to everyone why the sun and heating at the ground, why that might be a little concerning.
Right, and I can kind of explain that here with the Doppler as well. And I can also give you an update here on Doppler. As of the last scan here, we do not have any rotation detected. Doesn't mean it's gone. It just doesn't mean that it just means that there isn't any detected. But just to give you an idea, so we were looking at some Valley Springs from earlier. So we were looking from the south, and that's where you'd see the funnel cloud, and behind it you'd see the rain shaft. And then if you looked off to your left, it would be clear. And actually, if you look to the south, you'd probably see the sun breaking out as well. So that's kind of gives you some perspective on some of the videos. So you would be looking from the south in the clear air, looking to where the funnel cloud is, and then behind it, you'd see the rain. If you were in the area in the rain, you wouldn't be able to see the funnel cloud. You wouldn't be able to barely see across the street. So just to give you an update here, McCallany Hill, you're not in the warning, but you're right now have heavy rain and hail. It's now getting to that intersection of 26 and 49 there on McCallany Hill. And just on the other side of McCallany Hill, we had a cell go through there earlier today. For those of you that know, it's called 13 Corners. There's an area right in here, 13 turns, that goes between McCallany Hill and goes down the hill toward Jackson. That's not a good place to be right now. It's a nasty little bit of road, and right now it has heavy rain and hail on it. But the thing is, we're not seeing. Well, actually, there's some blue right there. There's some blue that just popped up outside the warning area.
Yeah, well, outside the warning area, I mean.
That means that
rotation.
That's where the rotation is. So
there it is.
You see it right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is that unusual that it's outside in that green area?
No, it just means that the green area is, of course, the rain. The red is where the edge of the tornado warning, but now we have Doppler indicated rotation on the south side of this one. So I talked about the heavy rain going through McCallany Hill. That's where we're seeing rotation now. So even though we're not in the warning area, I wouldn't be surprised if this warning gets adjusted here. The boundary of that gets adjusted. This warning is set to expire at 6 o'clock, and that rotation just went away. Something's going to happen here in about 15 minutes. Either this is going to go away, or it's going to get adjusted. I'm going to have to widen out the Doppler view again here to give everybody a better view on what's happening. But if you look along this entire line, we are not seeing any more rotation. We have plenty of rain here from just north of Farmington through the areas east of Linden. Man, this area to the south of Wallace, that continues to produce heavy hail along Highway 12 and 26 right up in here, and then extending all the way to McCallany Hill. Lots of heavy rain and hail, but we are losing a lot of the rotation signatures that we have been seeing for, well, now going on the last hour when we got our first tornado warning back around 4:40 this afternoon.
We have some more video, Mark. We want to show you and Heather, and you guys chime in when you see it. This is from Vicki Crocker, and it's just another shot, obviously, from the ground. And as they pan back and forth, you can still see the circular type movement of the clouds there.
Yeah, it looks kind of ragged, don't you think, Heather?
I was going to say, that looks like what we would call broad rotation, where, certainly a severe thunderstorm can have that sort of rotation, but to get a tornado, you need that rotation to be a bit tighter. Still, this absolutely warrants conditions that could produce a tornado when you start to see that rotation just with the naked eye, not just with our radar tools. That certainly is concerning there.
Yeah, it's fascinating, but yeah, you're not seeing the concentrated, tight rotation that you would get with a funnel cloud or a tornado with that. And update, the red box went away. The tornado warning has expired.
Okay.
Just like that.
Just like that. So now, hang on just one second.
Okay.
Heather, can you check for me with the Weather Service? Because sometimes what they'll do is they'll take one down and then they will reissue one. But last time they overlapped them when they did that back at the 5:15 time frame. So sometimes they put out a statement to say we've canceled it and there's no longer a threat. So Heather, can you check?
Yeah, I'm checking a couple different sources. So Mark and I are using a special radar app on our phones. That is showing that the warning is still up. There is no new warning, but obviously it's been taken out of our system. There's no new warning populating in our system either. Oh, that's definitely good news. It is. It is.
Okay, so so the warning has expired, and as we mentioned, we have not been seeing any additional rotation here, so that's good. So it appears as though, from all Doppler indications, that the rotation that we had been looking at from time to time over the last hour plus, that has now gone away. It doesn't mean that we don't have any heavy rain and hail, as we've been seeing here in a lot of areas. We probably still have a lot of standing water that continues here along Highway 12, and especially maybe some hail as well. But the immediate threat that we've been looking at and that we've been talking about for over an hour now, that threat appears to now be over.
That's really good news.
It is good news.
And we haven't had any reports of damage, no reports of injuries, all good things, and that's definitely a best case scenario.
Right.
Really good learning for all of us, though, especially.
Absolutely. But what are the immediate concerns right now? Obviously, you've got lightning to still just be mindful of.
Right.
Also, the winds could cause problems if you're in an area where you have debris that could be kicked up.
Well, and as you heard with Heather on the phone just a little bit ago, a gentleman was talking about how the wind came up. I believe that was in Rancho Calaveras. He was well away from the main part of it, but what he was getting was an outflow. So as we get these big downpours, as you get these big downpours, you get the air that's pushed out on either side of them. So that's the wind that you may additionally get here. But yeah, there continue to be heavy downpours and hail in a number of areas along Highway 12. Heather?
Yeah, Mark, we want to go to one more viewer who has been patiently waiting to talk to us here. Sean, my producer tells me that you drove through one of these storms. So first and foremost, are you pulled over somewhere safe right now?
Oh, I'm finally home.
Okay, excellent.
Finally at home, yeah.
Tell us about what it was like driving through the storm. About how long ago was it, and what did you see?
This was about an hour ago. I was coming home from my office, and right between Clements and Wallace, California, all of a sudden I seen the most darkest, ferocious-looking cloud I've ever seen since I lived in the Midwest. And I know what tornadoes look like. I've been through. Well, all of a sudden, I got about 2 miles up further, and then everybody was pulled over, and I have never seen or heard or had hail come down so damn hard that I think I got dents on my new Caddy I got. I'm not kidding. So I was following a truck out of there. It was almost like going over the pass and following her still, right? The whole time, lightning is just cracking and snapping all around me, right? So then I finally get up there, and it breaks off right before you get into Burson, California. But right now up here in Valley Springs, I live on the golf course too. It's the thunder and lightning is so bad, it sounds like damn Ukraine already. I'm not kidding.
Sean, thank you so much for calling in and letting us know what you saw. We are so glad that you made it home safe. We appreciate you calling in with your reports. Take care. Have a good rest of your evening.
You too. Yeah, you bet.
All right, that there is the description of the day of going through that storm that just blew through that area.
Hopefully his car was not dented. Thank you so much for staying with us during our extended storm coverage of this tornado warning that has now been canceled because the severe threat is over. We return you to regular programming, which is NBC Nightly News.
Hi. Their filings extensively cite a blistering report by the FBI's own watchdog agency. Agents in the Indian